Hi.
Hi.
So
Hi,
I've
Shreya.
already introduced you a little bit. I'm so excited to have you on board finally after all the talking.
Yeah, I'm excited to be with Sakshi. It's amazing to have known about Sakshi. It's amazing to have this amazing work going. I've been reading about it, and it's good. It's, I think, a way forward in a positive direction. So very
I'm
excited.
really glad you feel that way, Isha. So I've spoken like a few words about you before you joined in, but I would definitely like you to say a few words about yourself as well.
Shreya, you have already introduced me, but a very brief about who I am, what I am. I'm a holistic healer, and I work in the space of mental health, physical health, getting a holistic atmosphere in the body and the mind. It's not just about, working out. It's also about how your mind is responding to your environment and talking about those issues if there is any issue, and trying to resolve with the people around you, going asking for help, seeking anything that you want for your own well-being. I think that should be, along with food, water, housing, that should be the necessity as well. Demanding good health for your mental wellness. I think, yeah, that should be the way.
Yeah, I mean, especially during the times of such a pandemic going on where it can just be so stressful, I think mental health plays a huge role. And yoga definitely is a huge, like a huge savior, I might say.
Yeah, yeah.
So, how has quarantine been treating you? How's the lockdown for you? How's how's it going for you?
I think initially it was kind of a shock, just like for everybody, because suddenly your life comes to a standstill. You are not going out and doing your work, and you are juggling and struggling to figure out how this work from home scenario will work. And then, along with that, the uncertainty that comes along with the situation, the fear that comes along with the situation. So I think I was also in the kind of same zone, like, when are things going to be operational? What should be our next step? How are we going to work, and how am I going to meet my patients or clients? Because the interaction, the bond that you have with them, the face to face, the touch, the hug that work in healing space, that is not going to be there anymore. And I was just, I would say, outrightly trodden about the fact that this whole situation has been like this. But I think being in technology, the technology is a wonderful tool wherein people can connect whatever way. Like we are having a conversation here. It seems
Yeah.
like you are sitting in front of me, real. But yeah, so thanks to technology, we can still operate. We can still contact each other, be in touch with each other, talk about feelings, talk about emotions, talk about healing. Yeah. So
So why energy healing? Like, how would you say that it's different from normal therapy or anything else that is very mainstream these days?
there's a little bit of science involved in it, which is a very simple science. Shreya, if you know that we all are made of atoms, right? We all have studied about it. And then atoms become molecules. It's a cluster of, one thing over the other. Cells become tissues become organs. But at the end of the day, each atom works at a certain energy, certain frequency. That's how it becomes bigger, and that's how the whole process of our evolution happens within the body. So when those energies are not flowing right within the body, that's that's when little problems start to appear, start to surface. So energy healing works on the concept that we need to channelize the energy, we need to train, we need to remove the negative energy and channelize it with positive energy. So energy healing like sound baths, or Reiki, primarily work on recharging the body, remagnetizing it, just that our poles, north and south of every cell, become the way they should be. So it's so energy healing is that. And I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of English medicines, I always say in my talks, because an external chemical, if that can respond to you, means your body already knows that chemical because it is already there inside the body. That's why it's responding. So you just need to understand, just need to figure out how it's going to work. That's all.
This whole concept is very fascinating and also new to me. So I'm like really excited to read more about this. If you would like to share some links post this live
Absolutely.
to
I'll
read
share.
more about this.
Sure.
Anyway, Isha, have you heard about the Rakshan project and what do you know about Sakshi?
I know Sakshi has been working with, in terms of gender, in terms of equality, in terms of sexual child abuse since 1932, if I'm not wrong. And
1992.
sorry, 1992. 1992, yeah. Yeah, and I have seen the work, and Rakshan Project is, again, Rakshans are people who are diligently working towards protecting uh, the cases which are there against sexual child abuse, to the areas which are remote, where people do not have the visibility of such cases, of such instances. But I think, Shreya, you would be a better person who can highlight more on the Rakshan project, who Rakshans are, and let the audience hear what exactly is Rakshan.
For sure, for sure. So, for everyone who's here, Sakshi is a registered NGO working since 1992 and it firmly believes in the principle of do no harm to upload equality rights. Through research, advocacy, publications, and campaigns, Sakshi has pioneered work on gender equality, responsible sexuality, judicial equation, and gender equality in Asia Pacific region. Though its famous PIL, Sakshi has informed several laws, including the POSCO, JJ Act, and Sexual Assault Bill. And the Rakshan Project, in specific, is a project, a youth-led movement by Sakshi under the directive of Ministry of Affairs and Sports and Directorate of NSS to educate around 40 million students across 40,000 colleges in India. So basically, these youth are expected to be the change champions who will carry forward the message to prevent and stop child sexual abuse and spread awareness of POCSO Act, which is basically protection of children from sexual offences, amongst 1.2 crore of Indian population by the end of 21. And since so we had initially started off by going to colleges personally and conducting these webinars and conducting these modules in person. But since this pandemic came in, we've been conducting a lot of webinar online and on offline workshops. So basically, it's an extremely detailed and structured program designed by Sakshi. We are hoping will eventually include many of the adults becoming Rakshans and taking initiative stopping child sexual abuse because you obviously can't put the responsibility of stopping child sexual abuse on children because they don't know what's happening with them. They barely know what to do, what not to do. So here we are equipping adults, young adults, to be aware and to prevent child sexual abuse. So these students become the message carriers to take these initiatives forward into areas where information might not be accessible. For example, the rural area, there are so many women and children who don't even know that there's something called the POCSO Act, there's something called the Domestic Violence Act. They have absolutely no idea about their rights. They have absolutely no idea about what's happening to them. So these Rakshans are expected to go to these villages and areas where people don't know about things and educate them. So this is basically what Sakshi is doing currently. And this is for everybody who did not know, everybody who's listening. So
I
these students have been studying a lot about child sexual abuse and its long-lasting impact, and have a few questions related to mental health. And it would be great if you would be up to answer those.
Yeah, definitely. But before that, I would also like to add that I think youth are the biggest messengers. Youth are the largest carriers of the information because of
Yeah.
the accessibility that they have, because of the way they can spread awareness, and also they can bring a wave of change in a short amount of time compared to the effort that we put in adults to bring in. Because at that age, at that young age, if we start training them and if we start talking about such issues which are very prevalent in our country and in other countries also, if we start talking about such issues like child sexual abuse and what is the right touch, making them aware of what is the right touch, what is the wrong touch. And whenever there is a wrong touch, they need to talk about it to their uh, parents, or just have a easy accessibility to a helpline number or an NGO like you. It resolves half the job. It is like it's like giving it a push in a direction which is going to make another change in a next rapid way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I
So
think
yeah,
it's
you're
very
right. You're right. I mean, this generation right now is so equipped with technology and so many things which the older generation might not know. So basically, targeting youth and educating them about these things is actually very, very important.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, so would you be up to answering a few questions from some of our Rakshans who I think might be a part of our audience today in the
definitely.
live?
Yeah.
So, one of the main questions, most repeated questions by our Rakshans is that how to get over an abusive relationship, be it with your parent, be it with somebody, a trusted person, or anybody. How exactly to heal yourself when you don't know what to do?
Uh, uh, Shreya, in that case, you need to have a very strong relationship with yourself. Start building a very strong relationship with yourself first. When you realize that the relationship with others is becoming toxic or abusive, you need to start trusting yourself. No matter
Mm-hmm.
what, your body and your mind will never go against you. So you have to remember that. And also, I was again addressing some concerns today, and I was telling people that your self-worth matters. No matter how you're pushed down by people, you are discriminated or whatever, but you need to realize that whatever you build about yourself, the way you build about yourself is going to define you. So never lose a hope within you. And that is even a small step. As I said, every atom, every cell will start your recovery, your healing in a very substantial way. And I always also tell people, keep a diary with yourself. And in that diary, whenever you feel upset, whenever you feel you're disheartened, whenever any negative emotion comes, pen it down, acknowledge it. That's all. The acknowledgement itself becomes a massive step in the positive direction, that yes, I know this is what I'm feeling right now. And then once you know, it becomes another step forward. Now how I tackle it. So the knowledge of the fact that yes, the feeling is not right, I'm hurt. And so as soon as you know the problem, then you start thinking about the solution. So figuring out the problem, figuring out a negative feeling or an emotion, and then your mind will start thinking, okay, how I resolve it now. So I think these two things, having a relationship with yourself, having a relationship with your body and mind, acknowledging that yes, you love it and you're going to no matter what, your worth matters. And then keeping a self-awareness diary, something that you can connect with any time of the day, I think that is crucial. So just these simple advice, that's all.
Yeah, yeah. This is something like even my therapist told me like how journaling is such an important thing, whether you write it down in the form of a journal or whether it's poetry or whether it's any form of art, basically, just express it and
Yes,
let it out. Right?
let it out. Yeah,
Okay.
don't put it in the basement of your heart or the mind. Don't do that. Don't pile it up. Just let it out. You're right. Yeah.
Another question by a few of our Russians is so often these victims of child sexual abuse, when they grow up, they have a very negative impact. Like they are very scared. Some face social anxiety, some face the fear of being touched, some face a lot of different problems. So, what exactly do you think is a good idea for all these people who are suffering from problems like these? Basically, problems from the past.
See, childhood trauma is something which is very difficult to deal with. I know that I've met a lot of people in this area. The only way I feel is there's, of course, not just one way. Every person is receptive in a different way. Uh, when you approach them, some of them, they are very vulnerable to show their vulnerabilities. We do not judge them. We have our biases around whatever happened to them. I think it's a very sensitive issue and it should be dealt with equal or maybe a larger amount of sensitivity. So I think regular interactions with them, and if you are a therapist who is looking to tackle such situations, I think you need to be very, very patient with such people, because you need to make sure that they are feeling safe. Unless that atmosphere of, okay, I'm safe around this person, I am able to speak up in front of this person, unless that thing comes in, you will not be able to understand the trauma they have been. And I would also like to tell people who have been through a childhood trauma, who have been through any situation which has put them in a traumatic state, healing is tough. All you need to understand is, don't give up, and make your healing a process where you become the protagonist of your story. Try to look it from that perspective, and eventually let it be off your mind. Make it a new story which you can take it forward and win it. So shift the perspective.
Yeah, that's a very interesting insight to it. I'm like starting over new. That brings me to my next question, which basically is, for most of the victims or like survivors or anyone who's taking therapy, they are told start fresh, to go out, meet new people, to socialize, to begin new. But during a time of a pandemic like this, when you are alone, some people who don't have jobs, you are only with your thoughts. You are only with all the negativity that is around you, with your past, your emotions that are just bottled up in. So, what are
Yeah.
some tips and messages you would like to give people who are maybe facing this right now, or maybe who have faced this in the past
Hmm.
and are not able to do anything about it?
So simple therapies which we can do at home, as we said, like, as both of us are discussing, that talk to somebody, that's a good therapy. Talking is an amazing therapy. Indulging in art is a great therapy. Writing, journaling, making a thought catalog is a brilliant idea. But what I also tell people is a couple of techniques. I'll quickly share, how you can. We all carry bags. We all carry our handbags. We all have our, men also have bags. Women also have bags. So just empty your bag completely and figure out 5 things that you can't live without. So in the same way, keep and associate those 5 things with your thoughts. Those thoughts should be the only thoughts you can't live without. Don't barge yourself with so many emotions, so many insecurities. 5 essential things, and then five, maybe, which will help you accomplish those 5 essential things. Just these 10, which you can count on your fingers. That's all that need to be done. And another simple technique that I tell is, if you can write your past experience, if you can write your story, and as I was telling you, try to understand uh, how you were a victim, and what if I would change that victim part to a winner part. Try to change the essence of the story. Try to make your story, yes, in which you are the lead, you are taking action, and you are in charge, and making it a completely victorious one. So once you start manifesting it, once you start writing, it starts to manifest. It gives you an inner strength. Your direction from negativity shifts to taking it in a positive take. So simple, these two activities, I think, that will shift a perspective to a positive one. And Sakshi is there, all of us mental therapists are there. We are available. We are doing free counseling sessions, to reach out to us. I think we will definitely be able to help as well.
That
Of
is
course.
great. I think today earlier, even our director Smita, she was also speaking about this whole concept of you get to change your own story, right? You get to decide what you end up doing or how you are a change maker in your own life.
Yeah.
And I think this is very important, and I hope everyone who's watching this takes it down. And I'll definitely be sharing this live so people get to know what all we discussed. So, a little more specific when it comes to quarantine and lockdown. What about people who are facing stress and anxiety on a daily basis when it comes to work, or say even if it is just students who are basically not able to channel their talent or channel their knowledge because of the
Hmm.
lockdown. Is there a message you would like to give to all those students or even workers as
Hmm.
to how they can calm themselves down during this stressful period?
Uh, See, we all know that right now, I don't know how these channels will work, to be very honest, but curbing your talent is not the right way. Even if you can, share the knowledge through any medium, or if you're looking to enhancing your knowledge by doing something new, learning something new, do not feel that this is going waste because the doors are not open yet. Someday this door will open, someday the lockdown will get more, it's getting easier, but definitely it'll get easier by the day. And so your knowledge, your talent is not going waste. It's just that it's a static phase. So make sure maybe you can revisit your talent and see where you can fine tune it. What are the areas where you need a little more, as you say, until you rub yourself, you would not know how to become a pearl, how to shine like a diamond. So figure out those little areas where you need to enhance your skills and work on those. And definitely, as the time goes by, as the situation passes by, you would be a better person, a better version of yourself. And whenever there is a stressful situation, of course, I think a little bit of workout, maybe 15 minutes, a little bit of meditation, indulging in your hobby, uh, surely helps. So, whatever the situation right now, I think we need to plan. As we wake up, we need to plan the day. Okay, I'm going to do these 5 things, which are my favorite things during the day. I span it after every 2 hours, every 3 hours, so that I stay sane. I think it's a conscious decision we need to take. And after, I think, 2 weeks or 3 weeks of doing it repetitively, the mind starts to believe and it inculcates becomes like a habit. So I would tell
Yeah.
students that no need to stress out. Dump the stress in the bin right now and prepare yourself for a better version of you. I think it's a big learning for all of us, and especially for the ones, as you were saying, Shreya, about people who want to socialize because of the peer pressure. They will also understand whether they are actually the kind of people who like to socialize, or they are more creative and like to be with their own self. So it's going to be a window in that area.
Yeah, well, there are some people who are extremely stressed out during this pandemic period because they are used to socializing so much. Whereas on the other hand, we have people who are being forced to socialize with people because the only way of talking to people is online now. So it's just a whole paradigm shift that has happened because of this pandemic situation. Anyway, my next question to you would be, you being into soul healing, what is your go to during a panic attack or an anxiety attack or any extreme stressful moment? What is your go to remedy? What helps you the most?
My go-to remedy is definitely a glass of water first. I'll
Okay.
Because that gives me a moment to think. That gives me a moment to calm down. So a glass of water, along with a little bit of pulling yourself back and looking at the situation from a different perspective at that moment, and not being reactive. I think I just simply focus on trying not to react in that situation, in that panic immediately. I would rather take at least 2 minutes, 3 minutes to just pause and see what's going on. That's why a glass of water helps, because it gives you the time to see what's going on. And then definitely a little bit of deep breathing, that helps. A few inhales and exhales, simple. Yeah, because
Yeah, a deep breathing is always something everybody suggests. Like, every time someone tells you that they're panicking, the first thing you say is breathe. I
yeah,
think everyone says this. The first thing you say is breathe, relax, deep breaths. So
glass of
why
water.
exactly do people why exactly do people say that? Like what is the science behind deep breaths and calming yourself down?
So what happens in the situations of panic, in the situations when you're anxious or there is a fear in you, the blood flow or the oxygen flow of the brain is cut down. That's why the signaling stops. That's why the panic receptors in the shoulders trigger, because And but when you deep breathe, when you become a conscious inhale and exhale, when you go into that state of conscious inhalation and exhalation, you are actually calming down those panic receptors. You are actually taking in more oxygen so that your brain starts to trigger positive responses and is able to fight the stress, fight and flight response. So that is the reason everybody suggests deep breathing. And when you drink a glass of water, also, it adds more oxygen to your body. So I personally say, take a glass of water, drink it slow, do some deep breathing, and you'll be sorted for at least those minutes of panic. Then you'll be able to think better what you need to do next. So simple.
All right. So, I want to know how exactly yoga helps with trauma healing because personally, my own therapist always says, meditate, do yoga. I even was asked to join yoga classes like, say, 5, 6 months back when my mental health was on a complete low. So, how exactly and what is the important role that yoga plays when it comes to trauma healing or depression, anxiety, anything?
So, yoga is a simple science. It's a very beautiful practice which connects you to your body and the breath. Because in every posture, you're focusing on how to breathe. And when you build that connection with your body along with the breath, then you start to control these emotions as well. And it's a slow practice. Ideally, it is practiced slow. Every pose, you're going, taking 6 breaths, 8 breaths. You're not rushing. And in the process, your body, you're changing your hormonal response, you're changing your endocrine system, your metabolic system, which is responsible for keeping you in a state of complete stressless state. So that is why a lot of people recommend that you do yoga practices, because it also adds to people say, oh, is it only for flexibility? But what you need to understand is when you're a little flexible, the channels in your body, the energy channels, they are flowing better, and
Yeah.
the healing energy, the positive energy, is transmitting in your entire system. So it's adding value. And sitting with your breath for a few minutes during the day. And I always say, if you're a beginner, don't sit for longer periods. Don't sit for half an hour practice. Just practice like 5-7 minutes in the morning, 5-7 minutes in the evening. Acknowledging how you're feeling with your closed eyes, focusing on the breath is meditation. Or for some people, if this is not meditation, I personally believe doing something which you love. If you love singing and you are totally immersed into it, that you have no idea what's going on around, that is meditation for you. If you love
That
dancing,
helps.
if you love driving, if you're going on a long drive and it's giving you immense pleasure because your entire body is feeling so exuberant, that's meditation for you. So meditation is not sitting cross-legged, it's immersing yourself in something which makes you lose focus of everything else but that thing. So that's that's my take on meditation and yoga.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, I could totally relate with that one. I could totally relate when you said if singing helps, because that's what I do sometimes when I'm in a very stressful situation. I'll just lock myself out and just have my setup and just sing for like 3, 4 hours straight, and that helps. So maybe that
That's
is
magic.
meditation for me.
Yeah, that's magic. And again, singing or listening to music has such healing, uh, what would be the right word? Has such a healing effect on the body because you're using your vocal cords. You are giving your body certain vibrations, and those vibrations are, every cell again is thumping with a certain frequency, which is a healing frequency when you sing. And that's, people say, when you chant also, the vagus nerve in the body that gets activated again, which is responsible for keeping you in a calm state, in a meditative state, even without your thinking. So, Shreya, I think if you are singing and that's your go-to, meditative practice, go for it.
I think there's also something called music therapy, right? I've seen a lot of people conduct music therapy workshops and
Yeah.
music healing and all of this. I've never been a part of it, but I've always been curious as to what it entails and what exactly they're trying to do. So I think this is exactly what you said about using your vocal cords and channeling positive energy, right?
Absolutely. It's simply about letting it all out, either through dancing, through the movement, through singing. It's just that this energy needs to flow somewhere. You can't keep your energy latent, it has to flow. Yeah.
So are there any specific yoga like asanas or anything that you want to recommend with like stress or anxiety or trauma healing? Any specific asana which you believe in a lot and which you would
Hmm.
want to stress over here so that people could try?
Yes, definitely. So, one asana, or it's a mix of asanas, I would say, is Surya Namaskar. And Surya Namaskar, I would say, is since it's a mix of 12 asanas, it's a perfect way to start. You don't have to do anything else. Do a little bit of warm up and do maybe 3 to 5 rounds of Surya Namaskar. Your entire body is ready to get started for the day. If you do not want to do very rigorous practice, Surya Namaskars, a few side stretches, a little bit of neck mobility, because again of the oxygen flow that your body needs, that your brain needs, there should not be any stiffness in the neck or in the shoulders. A few shoulder mobility, a few neck movements, and Surya Namaskars, that's all, nothing else. That should relieve the
Great,
stress.
great, great, great. I have been trying to push myself to do Surya Namaskars. It's just my sleep schedule again, which is very messed up. Doesn't let me, but I'm definitely going to try. Which again brings me to: do you have any techniques for people who have issues sleeping? Because
Okay.
most often I think anxiety, depression, stress, it leads to a lot of insomnia because you just cannot sleep. So is there
Hmm.
anything that you want to give, like tips or recommendations for people who face issues like this?
So definitely, as we were discussing before in our second or the third question, you should keep a thought catalog. Uh, Whenever disturbing thought pops in, they should be able to pen it down. That's the way one. Another thing is foods. The kind of foods that you're eating have also a tremendous role in anxiety, depression, or even insomnia. So my simple advice is don't go for sugary stuff. Don't open your fridge and grab your ice cream whenever you're depressed. You know, I mean, I'm not propagating that 100% of the times you should be indulging in healthier eating, and but keep a ratio of 80/20. 80% go for the foods which are alkalizing, which are healing, which are doing great benefits for you in terms of adding micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals. And 20% is fine. But if you are, grabbing a bag of chips, binge watching on Netflix just because you feel that you are stressed, or there is anxiety, that's the way to tackle it. Uh, you're falling into a trap, and it becomes a vicious circle, because your food is not adding value, your thoughts are not adding value, and the reaction to it is again becomes disturbing. So all this becomes a loop, and you have to break your pattern at some point. You can't you can't keep repeating that. Once you learn to break the pattern, once you try to inculcate one good thing, the other good thing automatically will follow. So
So much sense.
I would also like to add that before sleeping, again, pick a hobby, uh, and do something that you like, rather than sticking to your screens, and you know maybe do a 10 minutes of meditation, or maybe just go off to sleep by singing a beautiful song, or doing some light movements with your body, and that's it. Yeah.
So I've been following up your work, and a lot of your work revolves around connecting to inner self, right? So how exactly is connecting to your inner self important when it comes to betterment of mental and physical well-being?
Why is it important to connect to the inner self? Because I think that's the only self you can understand better. I do not want to understand another human, which I'll not be able to make, like, I can't make that other person understand me better. Before that, I need to understand myself better. How I react to situations. What is my shortcoming? What is that I'm good at? If I know these parameters, then I'll be able to tackle. those parameters. But if I'm struggling to change the world without changing myself, I'm fooling myself. So that's why I focus a lot on connecting with your inner self, figuring out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Something that works for you, go for it. Something that doesn't work for you, leave it. There's no point, pushing it hard, trying to do what everybody else is doing. There is absolutely no point. Sometimes what we try to do is we try to fit into the world. We try to feel like, oh, I want to be a part of it. But sometimes it's not required because you are not that person. Probably your inner state, your inherent nature is not that. And the fear of losing out on something, FOMO that we call, fear of missing out. I think I think millennials.
Yes.
I'm also a millennial, but the lingo that we use, the way we come up with such verbiage is fascinating. So I think, yeah, we shouldn't go for, I'm missing out on this, I'm missing out on that. There are plethora of there's plethora of information, there's plethora of entertainment that's going on. You can't have all of it. You need to filter it out. You need to pick what works for you. That's all. I think that's an easier way to channelize and connect with your inner self. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I could relate to a lot of that. I could totally relate to a lot of that. And yeah, another thing that I wanted to ask you is tell us more about Reiki. Did I pronounce it right?
Reiki.
Reiki.
Reiki, yes.
Reiki. Yes. I'm so sorry.
No worries. So talking energy, right? So Reiki is a form of energy healing. And what Reiki used to is there are symbols in Japanese which are energy symbols, which are healing symbols. And again, Reiki works on the energy level, as we said. And it's a beautiful concept wherein they say if something is not going right in the body and the mind is because the positive energy has become a negative one. Simple. And that's when even Ayurveda says that कि जब हमारा connect टूट जाता है body के साथ, mind के साथ, and we consider ourselves as different identities. Mind is saying something else, body is responding in a different way, emotions are responding in a different way. This all connect is lost, and the body is confused, the mind is confused. That's when the problems, the psychosomatic problems, or even the physical problems start to manifest. So the Reiki healing works on your energy channels. What Reiki healers do is they try through distance or when a person is right in front of them to bring in a change in the energy. Try to manifest the energy from the universe and build a positive aura. That is what Reiki healers do. And we all know that universe can take care of whatever we throw out in the universe. It's a it's a dark hole somewhere out there, so black hole. So that can be taken care. Yeah. So it's a simple healing technique. There is a lot of physics involved in it, but I think I should not go into the electromagnetic theory or people will get confused.
No, I think it's fun. I think it's new information for everybody to grasp, and I think it's really interesting to try venturing into something like this. And I definitely want to read up more about this because I personally have never heard about it, but it sounds really interesting.
So consider yourself as a magnet, and you will attract the things that you like. And if you're attracting wrong things, you need to remagnetize yourself. As simple as that. And yeah, it's your North Pole and South Pole. Change your nodes.
Well, yeah. So, Isha, what is your journey with all of this? Do you have a story you would like to share?
Oh yes, I would love to share a little bit of my story, which I think Sakshi is working towards. Sakshi is working towards domestic violence, especially in the lockdown. A lot of women might be facing a situation which is, and most of us are so afraid of not speaking about. So my story, I'll give a little glimpse about what happened. And I would not want to dive deeper into it because I'm not here to glorify myself. But all I want to say is that I was also into a similar situation wherein my marriage was a physically abusive marriage, verbally abusive marriage. And the initial thought, the first time it happened, I was like, what did, like, why did it happen? What is this? And how come another human has the right to hit me? So that was my first thought. And I revolted. I was I literally, my instant reaction was to combat it, to, protect myself, to be defensive, which is absolutely right. But I think men, of course, they come with a more physical strength. And that's why sometimes they try to oppress women no matter what. So after a few episodes, the only way out, I tried talking to him, I tried talking to his family, I tried explaining them the scenario that something is not right. He needs counseling, he needs therapy, probably, or I'm not able to understand the situation, why there is overindulgence of alcohol. Probably it's kind of a split personality scenario, whatever it is, but I am not ready for this shit right now, or ever rather. So nothing worked. People tried explaining, and then one day, when the situation went really, really bad, and I was in a different country, I was working as well, and managing all of it without your family, and I didn't want to, disturb my family as well because it was a new marriage, and after that, all these episodes happening, sometimes, your beliefs shake. You are like, what is the situation that I've put myself into? What have I done wrong? Start questioning yourself. But what I did was, I went to the police station. I called the cops and told them the whole scenario. And within a few hours, he was behind the bars. I think that was again, my heart, trust me, was thumping at a rate I have never felt, because I was not sure what will be the repercussion of this, what will be the next step that will happen. What will my family say, what will his family say? All those thoughts were there, but at that time I don't know from where that courage came. And I was like, fuck it, trust me. And that was like, I can't deal with it, because this is not what I have raised myself or my family has raised me for. I have better things to do. I can't deal with this. Simple. And no man has the right to, or even no human has the right to hit any other person. So that was my, and he was behind the bars, and I fought my own case by the legal papers and everything, the divorce and everything that happened. Sometimes I think taking one step leads to another, because on the way, a couple of my friends helped me in figuring out the right lawyer or right person who can help me out with the free counseling, and then, or showing me the way ahead, that how should you respond to his lawyers, and just put your foot strong, don't back up, don't give away, or don't get away from the situation without taking your share, and all of this. And then it made me a stronger person. Like I always thought of myself as a stronger person, but when I came out of the situation, I felt this was a victory, and this probably is also a lesson for all the women out there, that you just need to take that one step. That's all. Once you take that step, I think that gives another person also a shock, that she's not timid, she's not this tiny petite woman who of because of the stature, there is something grand about her. I think it's just in that one action. So yeah, you just need to be bold. As women, if we can birth a baby, I think we have a lot more power. Yeah, if you need to, I think getting into the defense also is a great idea. If you need to hit back, if you need to scratch, use your weapons, but just don't put up with the shit. As simple as that. Yeah.
I think, first of all, you are incredible, and I would like to congratulate you for getting out of it, for being where you are right now. It takes a lot of courage, and you certainly have portrayed a lot of courage.
I mean, I'm grateful for my social conditioning, how my parents have raised me, for that as well. And I think after this episode, I also became very, very empathetic towards people, towards you can relate to their pain. And that was another reason I wanted to work with any person who is going through domestic violence issues. I've helped women a lot in last 1.5 year. Over, it's not a big number, but uh, over 10 women. But when you see the results, when you see how they are better now, how they have come out of a situation, it gives you a sense of satisfaction. uh, I believe if you can bear with that, you can bear with any other situation in the world.
That's
So,
true.
yeah.
I
So
think it
no
also has
situation is
a
like
lot to do with stigma around what people will say, and especially when women have to talk about something that they've been through, that such as domestic violence or any violence or abuse, even if it is as even if it is an episode of emotional abuse. I think a huge aspect that plays is the stigma as to what will people say. Because often, I think in a country like India, it is always pinned upon the women, or especially when you're in a marriage, people just ignore it by saying things like, "This happens in a household," "शादी में ये सब होता रहता है," and things like that. I think that needs to change, and we need more people like you to come out and share your story and tell us.
And I always tell women, or anybody rather, not just women, even men who are, sometimes they are also suffering in a relationship or in any marriage. I always tell people, unless you speak it out, you would be you would keep consider yourself as victim. So you stop self victimizing yourself, speak it out, and the day everybody starts speaking, it will not be a stigma anymore. Just because we are not speaking it out, just because we are silent, we are in a denial, or we feel that what will people say, as you are saying, that what will people say factor. Once everybody is speaking it out, it becomes a norm. It becomes a part of our culture, and we have a right to express our feelings and emotions. So this should also be a part of it. Simple. And to remove the stigma, I think, don't stay quiet about such situations. Speak it out. And that will also give a lot of other people courage to come out of a situation by learning through somebody else's experiences. And that's the way forward.
Definitely, definitely. I think a lot of people need to know this. I know so many people who are really scared of coming out and sharing their stories, but this definitely helps. I think it's absolutely very important for everybody to come out and share their stories, to inspire more people, to encourage more people to fight the stigma.
Yeah.
And another thing is how. So I am sure that there was a huge mental health impact on you because of all of this. So what are some things that helped you recover trauma, or your situation in general? What are some things that personally helped you?
So one thing I have always been is like, if I am doing something, I become very focused in that. So I was when I used to go to work, I think that was a demarcation line that I have left home. So that part is gone from my day, and I am at work. I'll properly focus into my work. And I was teaching over there. I was teaching kids from young age to a decent 16, 17 years age kids, right? So I had to keep myself focused, because I can't take that energy to a teaching space. So I think I would completely shut myself off from that and move into a zone wherein my work became the priority. And after work, I would, again, as I said, indulging yourself in a hobby or in something that you love. For me, my go-to things were, I would probably go for a run, half an hour run. I would do a little bit of yoga, and that that helped me a lot. Just shifting your mind or shifting your attention to something else, because the more you think about it, the more energy you are giving it. You're brooding about it more, and it's like, जिस चीज को ज्यादा fuel देंगे, that will become fire. So you don't fuel something which is negative. fuels which is more conducive to your health, more conducive to your well-being, and those things will start to grow and the other thing will start to go down. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody has just commented, Isha has some water. You are going and incredible. Has to do with your whole concept of drinking a glass of water.
I have my glass of water. It's finished. I'll have to, stand up and go, but I don't want to leave the session in between. So definitely after this session, I'll have a massive glass of water. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you are brilliant, and I am really happy to have this conversation with you, and really glad that we could make this live happen. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to say. I'm sort of speechless right now because yesterday after our conversation, I did not expect like so much depth and so much intensity and so much emotions that you spoke your story with. And I think we should definitely have you on board again sometime. And before leaving, I just want to ask you one more thing. Do you have anything else to share with people? Anything that you want to share?
I generally like to tell people that life is like a wave. There will be ups and there will be downs, and it's better to focus on the highs of your life and learn from the low points. But as I said, don't brood on something which is very negative. Try to be around people. Try to be around situations which make you, which help you, which help empower you, which help you grow. And if you are around that people, you will automatically start to feel the change in the energy. And I have a very beautiful theory. I call it like if you see the ripples in the water, if you drop two stones or two rocks at the same time, the ripples will start coming towards each other and they will not disturb each other. They will just easily immerse into each other and become a bigger one. So it's called as constructive interference. So sometimes if you go to a party, you feel okay, I feel the vibe is nice. I can be around these people. So that is constructive interference, wherein uh, everything around you is going great because you can feel the energy. Destructive interference, I feel, should be avoided, where you realize yourself that this is not doing me any good, and you need to be a little aware. Bring in awareness into your own self, bring in awareness around the people that you hang out with, and it sorts your life so much. It's not a good idea to do or be around thousands of people. You have 10 people and they're amazing, that's enough. Simple. Yeah. So, and I would also say, seek help. Seeking help is not does not make you weak. Reach out to people, reach out to whoever you feel like reaching out makes your problem easier. There are people out there who are willing to help, and definitely having somebody around, somebody to talk to, eases down your situation a lot. So we are humans, we are born to express, we are born to speak uh, through words, through eyes, through emotions. So do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Isha. Thank you so much for being a part of this. We'll definitely get you on board again to talk in depth about topics. We could plan it out once more. And yeah, everyone who's watching here from Sakshi's end, please go check out her page and follow her work. She's definitely a great person who has a great story and is definitely very inspiring. So once again, thank you so much, Isha.
Thank you, Shreya. And Sakshi is doing a fantastic job as well. I'm so proud that Rakshans are out there helping helping kids, bringing so much awareness in terms of equality, in terms of sexuality, which is so much required, not just in India, in every other country as well. But I think Indian Rakshans are doing a phenomenal job. Kudos to them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
Shreya. Thank you so much.